movies, The Black Curtain, The Black Path of Fear, Black Angel, Rendezvous in Black, The Bride Wore Black. Yeah, there were a number of them. The second film tonight is another novel in that series. And Woolrich was a really interesting man in that he was a very, very fearful person. He had a very, very disturbed childhood. He was scared of everything. His father worked in construction and would move the family to Mexico at an early age, and everything just terrified this guy. He was afraid of living. He was afraid of dying. The great news is that he had an outlet for all this fear. And when he eventually became a grown person living with his mother most of his life in a hotel in New York, the Mayflower Hotel in New York, I joke that every time he heard a siren, he wrote a short story about what was causing that, that dreadful thing to happen. And he created this immense body of work that, for its sheer dread and paranoia and suspense, is unrivaled, really, in American letters. And more filmmakers have adapted Cornell Woolrich's short stories and novels to film than anybody else, really. I think I said the other night, Stephen King, I think, will eventually, if he keeps going, might overtake Cornell Woolrich at some point, but who knows. Anyway, this is the first example of a film adaptation from one of his works. And it's interesting because it's a B film made at Paramount. We're lucky the folks at Universal preserved it. Everything that Paramount made prior to 1949 is now owned by Universal Pictures. And so there was a lot of confusion about rights and all that kind of stuff. But this is a B unit production. So there's a lot of names associated with this, like director Jack Hively, that is certainly not anyone that is synonymous with film noir. And the cinematographer who does some really fantastic early noir visuals in this, Theodore Sparkle, was a German who had come to America, kind of worked between Europe and America in the 1930s, and was mostly known for work he had done with Jean Renoir. He was the photographer of Renoir's great La Chienne in the early 1930s, and he has a really tremendous eye and a great gift for light and shadow. Unfortunately, he only lived a few more years after this film was made. It's a rare starring role for Burgess Meredith, one of the great character actors. If you've seen, everybody knows him, right, as for Rocky. Go get him, kid, you know. But this is the young, very handsome Burgess Meredith, co-starring with one of the great underrated actresses of noir, Claire Trevor, who was just terrific, New York-born Claire Trevor, who in many ways is one of the grandes dames of noir, and this is one of the earliest examples of her work in the genre, where she was always kind of the woman you couldn't quite trust. But isn't that all of them? In noir, I preface that way, in noir. But that's true of everybody in film noir, right? You don't really know who you can trust, and this story is a prime example of that. And yes, once more, we give you a story centered around amnesia. Yeah. So I'm going to come back and introduce the next movie and forget that I introduced this one, and then I'll be right in the spirit of things. So enjoy this. Again, thanks very much to Universal, Mike Feinberg and Bob O'Neill, for making this print, because it's about time. I know there are people here tonight who've been dying to see this movie for years, and now it's finally here up on the big screen. Street of Chance. Thank you.